Hello, welcome back to Loud and Proud Orlando here on a Thursday night for another City Pod. I am your host, John Rollins, and I'm here with my good friend and co host, Luis Carlos Pineda. Luis, how are you?
No, I mean, great. Clam chowder is actually one of my favorite soups, and I'm just really happy that we're about to make and cook some clam chowder this weekend, John. So I'm happy about that.
You're feeling the Northeast Coast clam
Yeah,
chowder
yeah.
vibes this weekend, huh?
The
You
British
go
brought the clam chowder from
the New
right
England, it's good
to
up
New
there.
England. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, definitely. I mean, you're gonna go up and try some. You get to go to the
For
game.
sure. I gotta go. I
Yeah,
gotta go
let's
try
get
it.
you on the plane so you can get up there for this away game. I want to say hi to everybody who's joining us live. Please, drop your comments in the comment section. We want to hear from you if you're on YouTube or X. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. Thank you for being with here us on a Thursday night. We've got a packed show for you tonight. We're gonna do things a little differently. We've already got some great listener feedback, so we're taking that on board and adding that into the show. So that kind of brings us into our topics for the evening. First of all, we're going to talk about a little bit more about that listener feedback. If you were not here on Monday or Tuesday, please go check that out. We'll show you in a second. Then we're going to preview the Revs. Then we're going to check in on OCB. And we're talking about a little bit about the U.S. men's national team with Greg being fired. That's hot news. And then we're going to talk about the Copa and the Euro finals, both happening on this weekend. But first, let's talk about the listener feedback survey. So if you have not been here earlier this week, we launched our listener feedback survey. It's really great to get your feedback. We've already had a lot of submissions. It won't take you very long to fill it out. So if you want to, please go over there and give us your feedback on what you think of Loud and Proud Orlando. We take constructive criticism well. It's been great to get some feedback. I see we've already got 19 responses, which is awesome to
Amazing.
see. So thank you to everybody who's responded. We got lots of great information coming in here on what people want to see, what they like, what they don't like. So it's all anonymous. So don't feel like we're gonna come after you or anything. We don't know who's saying what, and
Keyboard
everything we've had so
warriors.
far, yeah, with like the good and the bad, has been really great to hear everybody's opinions, and it really helps us. So please take the time to go and check that out. You can find the link on our Twitter. It's also on the Facebook and on Instagram as well. All of our socials, go find it there. Fill out the listener feedback survey. We want to hear from more of you. So thank you for doing that, and please go check it out. Next, Luis, it's time to preview the New England Revs. Time to get deep into that clam chowder that you like so much. And this is a team that are been struggling recently. So your initial thoughts on the Revs and our weekend matchup against them.
Well, I mean, before I go into diving into the raps, I do want to say thank you to everybody listening and watching on Instagram, also live there. So make sure to drop your comments also. We'll read them live. Well, I mean, what can I say about the refs? When they had Tajon Buchanan and they have Gustavo Bo, they were a force to be reckoned with. Top of the East, usually. Even taking a run to the Supporter Shield. It was happy times in New England. Mad respect for them for sure, and their organization. But unfortunately, they're rebuilding, and it seems to be a rebuilding period for them. They still have some exciting prospects when it comes to youth. I do want to say they have a really good academy as well. But that's not enough, I think, in this league. Now things have changed a little bit. This should be a W for Orlando City. I mean, I feel we come here with the momentum. We come here with the momentum. We come here with those sequences and them syncing with each other in the attacking third. This should be a game that we just take 3 points. These are games that we should win, right, John? So So to me, I feel like we should start with that. And also we need to show that consistency that we had defensively, especially in the last game against DC, especially at home. Cesar Araujo and Wilder Cartagena, again, having a 10 out of 10 game. And, Robin Jansen looking like, the captain that, that we deserve. So we need to see that again, in my opinion, John. So I'm looking forward for this game for sure. Um, and hopefully another clean sheet for Pedro Galese.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you look back at their form this season. Like they started out like rough, and then it got a little bit better, and then they went through a patch where they won a 4 or 5 in a row at the beginning of June. And then it started to slip again. Like recently, they lost 5-1 to Columbus at home. Then they managed to beat Atlanta away 2-1. And then most recently, they lost away at the Sounders 2-0. And the Sounders are not having a great season. They seem like very hit or miss. It seems like obviously there was talk earlier this season of potentially them having a revival under Caleb Porter, and was Carlos Gill going to be the guy again? And it just none of that, it seems to have happened. They are still kind of down there in the mix. They're in 12th. They're not that far away. Like it's so tight down there. They're only 5 points away from us. But I just don't really have a good feeling about them, Luis. I think that this team, like you said, is run its course. I think for them, they need like a full rebuild, and I don't really see this team going far. So I think it's definitely points on the table for us that we can go and take at their house. Um, Luis, what do you think about our options here in terms of with 3 games coming up in a row? Are you thinking this is a place we could go and take 3 points and then maybe make some rotations against Nashville? Or where would you try in these next 3 games really to play your best team if you have to make rotations? You're muted, buddy.
I know the title of the episode is Clam Chowder, and it's all just for giggles, here and there, But I take this game very seriously. I mean, you have to understand, we never won a match at Gillette Stadium. We never won a match at Gillette Stadium,
Yeah.
so we're also playing in turf.
That's a
So,
big factor here. The turf,
so
we never like turf.
right. So those are two things that we definitely need to take into consideration. And again, it's another game that bagging 3 points, whether we play super flowy and nice and score three, 4 goals. Um, we have to take it. We have to take into account that we never won at Gillette Stadium. We're playing in turf, and that the last game New England did, they did very well against a Thiago Almada less Atlanta, because Thiago Almada left to Botafogo to play in the Brazilian league, but they gained a lot of momentum in the second half. They cornered Atlanta in the second half. So that's not something that we should take lightly. We need to treat each game now, because of the bad form in the beginning of the season. I feel we need to take now each game by game. And especially in this scenario that we've never won there in history, turf, and the good form that they show in the second half against Atlanta, we should definitely score a couple in the first half. And then, if Papi wants to go and grab the keys of the bus, I I I say, hey, I'll turn it on for you, Oscar. You know what I mean? Because it would be really cool to not only win 2 back-to-back games, have that massive win at home, which was a clobbering that everybody like was in awe about, but also now first time winning at Gillette Stadium. I think that'll be a great start for this possible turnaround. And now a lot of pundits are talking now, hey, is Orlando City really turning this around? You know, so and you want to say "I told you so," but it's not. I think you cannot. You have to take now game by game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely have that feeling of we can't say it's all going to be smooth. We can't say it's all going to be bad. It's up and down. I think the performance of our team, and I think that's similar in the New England Revolution form. You can see that they like that you said that game against Atlanta, they played pretty well, but that's either side of two losses. So what version of New England turns up? That's a big question. But also, I think we've got to see the same version of Orlando City that we saw against this Saturday against just gone against DC because everything was clicking in that DC game. Everything was going right. Everything was happening like we've been saying all season, how we want it to happen. I feel like we've struck a formula there, Luis. So do you feel like that formula is, replicable? I think it is. Would you say that's what Oscar's gonna do? Just do the same thing again?
Yeah, I mean, knowing Oscar, I think that's what he's gonna do. Um, all I do want to say is I'm gonna show this momentum grid real quick from last game for Orlando City, and hold on, give me 1 second. It was all Orlando City in the whole 90 minutes. So we have to prepare ourselves mentally that that's probably not going to happen. Yes, we would love for that to happen all the time, but there's going to be games that we're not going to be able to have this type of momentum like this. If you're listening, I'm putting a grid of our momentum of Orlando's momentum against DC. Now this is all Orlando City, and Orlando scored 5 goals. Now I want to show you the grid for New England, and I feel like both teams are going to be doing the same things. And I think look at Seattle's, right here, and look. They seem that they get New England turns on at the latter minutes of each half, so they have like a little bit of a pattern. Like here with this is the last game they lost 2-0. So this is strategic for Oscar, in my opinion. Like latter part of the minutes of the game, boom, you see spikes in momentum right there for New England. You know, and then they have a spike in momentum in the second half, and then it was all Seattle after that. Why? Because they make the changes. Fresh legs. Joao Paulo came in. They changed some people in the attack. Rui Diaz, started being a little more bothersome and things like that. So it's just that. So we gotta kind of do the same, in my opinion. And not to be, I mean, I don't want to be negative, but I feel like I want to see the same consistency from this team, you know, and because we clearly we haven't done that, and but so I'm going there with caution, especially in turf, and I do believe that we can have that same momentum. I mean, it'll be picture perfect if we have the same momentum as we did against Nice. I think it is important for us offensively to for the attacking mids to keep attacking. So you're talking about Facu Torres, you know, um, you know, um, what's his name? Ramiro Enrique, Ojeda, all those guys are in the attacking third. They need to start striking. I mean, 13 goals over the last 4 games. It is pretty impressive. That needs to happen. And if we have Luis Muriel and Ramiro Enrique, boom, score a couple goals, like that's even better. And I think with Muriel, we need to start seeing him in the starting lineup. So I think I know that we're gonna do that later, but I feel Muriel is gonna be one of the starters for sure against New England.
I think so. We'll have to talk about that in a second. In terms of their like main threats, obviously Carlos Gil,
Yeah,
Esmir, like Bar. This is so hard. Baratorevic. I can't say that. Mark Anthony K, Matt Polster. Thomas Chankalai, Dewan Jones. Like they've got a lot of good players in there, a lot of good talent. Um, it just depends, if they turn up on the day. I think they're a good team that doesn't have a lot of stars outside of Carlos Gil. So they do work together, I think, reasonably well as a unit. So you got to watch out for those pacey players and especially the fullbacks. They like to bomb those fullbacks up the field. So we got to look out for the overlaps there. Um, Luis, I feel like it's probably time for us to get into the lineup for this game and what we think.
Sure.
Um, unless you have any other thoughts on New England.
Well, I do want to say, looking at their back line, you have Dave Romney, Brendan Bai on the right, the Juan Jones on the left, and then Javier Arriaga, former Ecuadorian national center back. I do want to say I want to focus on two. Brendan Bai and Dave Romney are always they've been pretty consistent this season for New England. I think to me they're the best two defenders. But not to put the flame away from Arriaga and the Juan Jones, but as of late they've been on and off. So and they've always been on and off players. So depending on who they're facing, the Juan Jones may light up and start, playing like he's Marcelo, or he could play like he's the Juan Jones. You know what I mean? So and then and Arriaga, he's had a lot of issues when he has to mark um, bothersome strikers. So
Right.
he's 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 being punished for penalties in the box. He's gotten yellow cards, unnecessary yellow cards, and he's been having some defensive woes as of late. So
He's
maybe
actually out with red card
exactly
suspension.
that's
So
something
yeah,
that's something that we should definitely think about. Think about that.
yeah. Carlos Gil is out with leg injury until
Well,
late July, apparently. So,
there you
as
go.
well as Emmanuel Boateng, these guys we're talking about, Mark DK, like those are three big players out there.
Big
Thomas
big
Chankala is
guys.
also on this list. Nick Lima, obviously they've been hit with injuries. They've still been performing. I think that a lot of these guys have been out for a while, so they've had other players step up. They've got good young players in this team. So on our side, obviously we're still out Mason and Mikey. So that's the main two that we're missing. But everybody else is fit and ready to go. So them not having Javier Arriaga, sorry, who's been a big part of that back line, like you
Yeah,
said, Luis, is huge. They're gonna have to
former
bring
Seattle
in,
Sounder. Former
yeah,
Seattle Sounder.
they're gonna have to bring in some third or fourth string guy to play there. I'm not really 100% sure on who that will be. Actually, I'd have to look at their deep in their roster, but it's not their favorite center back. Obviously, like I think this team runs around Carlos Gil, so without him, how much like right now they're relying on the guy's name I can't say. Bara, what's his name? Baratrovic. He's the 10. Giacomo Veroni is up there in the 9 position. Another one who's really not performed very well in MLS. I'm with you, Luis. I think Dewan Jones, Brandon By, these are
Yeah, they're
real
pretty
issues.
solid in my
They're
opinion.
real. I think they're really, really good young fullbacks, and the way
But
they bomb forward. So it's going to be a rough night for Dagger and probably Kyle Smith.
like for
Um,
example,
they
if
can't get overlapped.
right, I mean for next season, for example, if the Juan Jones is trying to look to come to Florida, I'll welcome with open arms. I mean, he's young,
Yeah,
healthy. He's actually been also in the national team. Called up a couple times. I mean, he probably wants a shot of redemption in his career. I think he'll fit perfectly in Orlando, man.
doesn't he play both left and right back as
Yeah.
well? I think he does,
Uh-huh.
right? So I think that's a great advantage. I think
He's like
Noah
he's
Buck is
like
a great
a
player on their team as well. Like exciting prospect for the future for U.S. players.
yeah,
Um,
he's
yeah.
a good exciting prospect for
There
sure.
are some good players on this team. I just don't think they've been performing, and I question whether Caleb Porter is the guy to do it in MLS anymore.
Yeah.
I think he's showing perhaps his tactics are not able to do it in this league anymore.
Look at Caleb Wiley. that Juan Jones is kind of like a Caleb
Yep,
Wiley.
definitely,
So if I'm
definitely.
Orlando, I'm already thinking, hey, you're not happy in New England. New England is in the bottom of the table. Hey,
Yep. I think it's going to be an interesting game regardless. So we do our lineup prediction. Um,
yeah, sure. I just have it right here.
yeah, pull it up.
So we're putting Otero as your number one.
No, Pedro.
I'm just joking.
Javier. Javier had that one game, man. It was
No,
like
no, he's
throw him in
good.
the
He's
deep end. It was hard for him,
a
but
phenomenal player.
uh,
I
he's going to remain our bench keeper for the rest of the season, and they're
That's right.
finding a
He's
replacement. So I think
he's a
League's
great.
Cup. I'd love to see Otero get a game in League's
Me
Cup.
too. I would love for him to play the League's Cup. In my
Yeah,
opinion,
that would
think
be
it'd be
awesome.
great. Think it'd be great.
Um,
So I think we're gonna see Kyle Smith.
yep,
We're gonna see uh, Robin
Robin and David.
and Schlegel. Oh, Breckel is back, right?
I think he'll be ready. I'd be surprised if not. I think last game it was just because he literally just landed from the Euros,
Okay,
and they
so
probably
it'll
didn't want
probably
to
be
throw him straight
Brecalo,
in.
and then it'll
I think
be
so.
Dagger.
Dagger at right back. Yeah.
Facu, don't change it on the Facundo
No,
Torres on
no.
the right
Keep
because
him on that.
that partnership with Dagger has been great.
The double
Uh,
pivot, man. It's back.
Wilder, and then we have Cesar,
Yep.
and then here on your 10, um, Ojeda,
It's gotta be. After last performance,
Angulo,
I think so.
and then right up top, El Toro.
Muriel.
There you go.
Unless they're feeling spicy and they want to put Enrique there, but I really doubt it. I think it's gonna be Muriel. I think he's got to show this game though
It's
that it can
Muriel.
work with him. You know what I mean? So been working with Duncan. Obviously,
This is
he's
a
away
game.
with the Olympics. Now it needs to work with Muriel in the 9.
This is a game that he can gain some confidence, and if he scores like a brace, it will boost them up hopefully for what's coming against Nashville and New York. So I hope I see him in the scoring sheet. That's my wish. Hopefully we see him in the scoring sheet and he scores a couple, and comes against Nashville, starts scoring some goals, and then more goals Muriel has, people are happier, and maybe we just in the off season get somebody to partner up there with him top, because we have to think, and I don't know what you think about this, John. I know that we're talking about the Olympics later on, but Dunk is going to have a lot of playing time in the Olympics, and more than likely he's going to probably start
Yep.
in the Olympics a couple games. If Duncan scores 3 goals, dude, in the Olympics, he's going to go to Europe. I mean, it's just
I think I think regardless, he's gonna impress because
right,
we know how Duncan is. He's such a hard
right.
worker.
Yep,
Like you said, pretty much like they've named like one other forward,
yep.
and he's like a versatile, like not a straight out and out number 9. In terms of
Number 9,
straight up number 9s,
it's
Duncan is
Duncan.
the only one
That's
in
right.
this Olympic squad. So he's obviously going to be a massive part of this team. He's going to get a lot of play time in front of a lot of people. There's been a lot of scouts there watching from all over Europe. And I think, it's his desire to go. And if he does well in the shop window, then this is his best opportunity to impress. So I think he's going to have a good tournament. I'm excited about this US team. I think there's a lot of good young players in there with some older experience heads. So wishing Duncan the best, but we've got to figure out with Muriel to do it. I think this is an opportunity for him these 3 games before Leagues Cup, get a couple goals, build some confidence. Because there's every chance, like you said, Luis, that he's going to be the guy with Duncan out. But recently he's been riding the bench and we've been doing a little bit better. I have some concerns that he tends to slow up the buildup of the play. Would you
Yeah.
say that that's something that you? I think when Duncan is there spearheading the front of the attack, he's much more forward thinking. Obviously, Luis wants to drop deep and play as a deeper sort of like deep lying forward. I think sometimes that inhibits us our ability to be able to attack quickly up the field. Can you see that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that Muriel, when he sees an opening, he wants to finish the play so beautifully, and and then the keeper just happens to to completely own him. So lately, we've seen him, in my opinion, doubt himself, and so he's 1v1, and then he just stops and then passes it back. We definitely should not see that. We just can't see that. We want to see Muriel finishing the play, or also somebody running with Muriel forward, so Muriel feels comfortable to maybe do that assist. But when he's on the 1v1, he's been having some issues. Um, and also to run back for the ball too, because if you lose the ball, typically you got to run back for the ball and try to get it back. He's just kind of stays behind. Duncan, you see him, hustling and just running back to get the ball, like, yeah, I turn it
Yeah.
over, I'm gonna go get it, type of thing. Type of mentality. Muriel is more like, okay, well, I mean, I know Wilder will get it for me, more.
That's the concern is the press without Duncan with Muriel is not the same presser.
Hmm.
I also think that if he sits deep, we need someone to make those more forward runs. So like Ojeda, if Ojeda's making forward runs off of Muriel's like dropping in like a false nine, I think that's a recipe for success. But they need to communicate that because like last game, Ojeda was playing really well in the space behind Duncan.
Well,
Um,
well,
so it's a
technically,
different
so
kind of
technically,
striker.
John, this lineup
Yeah,
in transition, so them going into the attack turns into a
yeah,
kind of a four
four,
four
four,
two
four,
three
two.
one, but
Yeah,
on paper, it is technically a 4-4-2.
yeah. No,
Obviously,
I think
Ojeda's
those two have
sat
to
a
have
little
that
deep,
partnership.
right? Now we could see, since if Oscar's smart, which I know he is, hopefully, we could see this too. Ojeda up top,
Yeah.
Muriel sits back.
It's about knowing that, like, and Duncan and Ojeda were doing that well, so we need
Right.
the same thing from these 2.
So that could be also a switch, or we could be seeing that the whole entire game, happening. So
We gotta read a few comments here, Luis. Josh Rotal says, "Let's go about turning the season around, Orlando City. Vamos, Orlando. Let's keep it up. I hope we really beat the Revs at their home." He says, "Let's break the streak, not winning there, and get the win and keep it up." What do you think we'll have to do to get this win versus them? I think, Josh, one of the biggest problems, like Luis said, is that we're just struggling with the turf. I think turf is an issue. I think that we know that we don't play well on turf. We haven't played well on turf this year at all. So that for me concerns more than anything. Like how well do we actually use the ball? Like it doesn't our play, I think, is inhibited by playing on surfaces that we're not used to, like the grass. We don't seem to have the same flow and attack when the ball's bouncing all over the place on turf, or like it was at New York City. Like that pitch size and the condition was just something we don't deal well with. We play much better on real grass because back at home, we're always playing on real grass. So that's a big factor for me. We need to figure out how I'm like maybe they should be training on the turf right now, Luis. I know there's some managers that go that route. They get in early and they train on the turf because they think
yeah.
they're going to play on the turf. What do you think, like Joshua says, we have to do to get this win versus New England?
Well, I mean, to me, the three things is, maintain the double pivot on point. Don't be scared to be defensive in this game, especially playing on turf. You don't want to be losing the ball for no reason, because they know how to play in turf. We don't. In a way, we have to keep it that way. Also, that that sink that we saw in the attack, even though I expect it to be less, I don't expect 5 goals, but I expect probably a couple. We need to see that same sync in the attacking third. We need to see it against New England, at least in the first half. Score one and then score another one in the second. But we need to see that again, especially from Muriel. It's going to be a huge turnaround game for Muriel, I think, not only with the fan base, but also with himself, to be such an important piece. Also, Enrique coming off the bench, being a better player to stretch up the defense and the offense. So, taking advantage of spaces. So, I think it's going to be great. And the third one, it's, again, history in the making, man. And, Orlando never won in Gillette Stadium. Uh, it will be a great opportunity for us to go out there and get the W, have Muriel score. It's kind of like a checklist, right? Muriel has to score. Us not conceding any goals, and then first time winning in New England. At Gillette Stadium, home of the Patriots, right? Boom. I think it'll be great.
It would be great, man. I think, like you said, it's a hard place for us to go, and we've never done it. So all those things need to come together. But at this point, it's do or die, right? So we got to keep this ball rolling. This is a great opportunity to get 3 points. No reason we can't. We just got to overcome these hurdles. And I think you talked about it there. Muriel getting a goal, being also a like extra factor that we'd love to see. Josh agrees with you. Says I agree with your good points there, Luis. Let's move on. We're gonna move on to talking about. Actually, wait. Before we do, one last thing. I almost forgot, Luis. Your score prediction then for the Revs.
Uh, it's gonna be a 3-0 Orlando win with
All right.
Muriel brace, hopefully, and then a second half set piece goal by Thomas Williams, dude.
Thomas Williams. I love that.
It would be
Love
cool to see him. It would be good to see him.
I thought you were gonna say Alex Freeman. Then I was like,
Well, Alex Freeman already scored in the last. Well, not scored, but kind of assisted in the last game. But I think in
yeah,
this game, I mean, he scored in the training footage. Thomas.
yeah, he did indeed. I want to say that that's bold prediction. I love that 3-0. Some positivity there, Luis. I'm gonna go like 2-1. I think it's gonna be tight. I think we can get the win. I think it's gonna be a 2-1 situation for us. And I think Enrique is gonna get one off the bench. I don't know.
Hopefully.
I feel like Enrique's back. But if Muro gets the other, I'm all for that. Like let's get him firing because we got to figure out these strikers. Get someone else to score, replace the goals that Duncan's not giving us right now while he's away. Alrighty, moving on. We're going to talk a little bit about OCB, doing a little OCB check-in here. We don't always get time to talk about OCB, Luis. We're busy talking about Pride and City and everything else. So it's good every now and then to check in. I know that lots of people have been going to the games, which has been awesome. The attendance has been better than ever recently. So that's really good. I think it's nice to see that, but they're not doing so well at home. I'm going to show you in a second here on the screen, Luis, their results recently. So everybody who can see, who might not know what they've been up to recently, you can see OCB here. So sort of since June, we'll go back that far. They lost 3-1 away at Miami to the Baby Herons, who've kind of been like their bogey team this year. Carolina Core, they then drew at home to them and actually ended up winning really on penalties 6-5. But Carolina Core, a new team this year in the league they're not really a development team. They're actually a standalone team. And they have a lot of older players. So that was an interesting game. I watched that one. Then they managed to beat Chattanooga. Well, they drew and won on penalties again against Chattanooga FC. There was a game against New England too, Luis, that was just TBD. And I don't think they've rescheduled it. I haven't heard when it's been rescheduled. That was
Wow.
canceled. So that's TBD on that one. And then they won again, but it was a 2-2 draw again at Osceola Heritage Park, and they won on penalties against Atlanta at the end of June. And then early July, they had another home game at Osceola, and they lost last week to Carolina Core, losing 2-1. So not been great results. A lot of draws and then wins on penalties kind of more recently. The last time they had an outstanding win was back at the end of May when they beat Huntsville 5-0. But a lot of the time with this league, as we know, Luis, it's not so much about the results. It's more about player development. And I think
Hmm.
we've been seeing a lot of good player development this year so far on OCB. One of which, I don't know if you saw the news, is that we got a couple players that have been picked up for the All-Star Academy team, which is really cool to see. So I'll show you guys here that on screen. We have one of your favorites, Luis. I'm sure you'll happily talk about this man here. Where is he? Colin Gusk. Here
Yeah,
he is.
he's he's a
Tell
force.
us
He's a force
tell
to
us
be
about
reckoned with,
Colin.
man. Don't mess with the Gusk. Yep, I think
So
he has a great future ahead of him, man.
Colin and Juan Rojas have been selected for the 2024 MLS All-Star Game roster.
Congrats.
So that's awesome to
It's
see. Here
amazing.
they are
Look at that.
holding the All-Star Game roster. It's going to be they've been named to the Eastern roster. So they're doing East versus
Fantastic.
West, Luis.
Look,
What?
something great out of the MLS Next Pro, man.
Are they finally
But
listing us on All-Star?
they gotta put this up in stream live on MLSsoccer.com. There you go.
Yep. So this game will showcase North America's top young players in East versus West matchup at historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio, on Tuesday, the 23rd of July. So not too far away at 11:30 a.m. Decent time. So if you're someone who can stream in the middle of the day, tune in to watch those guys in the young All-Star game. That's it's the MLS Next All-Star game. So really great achievement here. Colin Gusk, especially, we know has been lighting it up this year. A really a big prospect for the future. And Juan Rojas has been playing well as well. So obviously both well-deserved call-ups. I don't know if we ever had this before. Is this new this year, Luis? Do you know if we ever had players? I don't know if I've ever even known that there was
I
a
think I
Next
think it's
Pro
I think we've had a
All-Star.
I think we had a couple, but I think that it's great to see Colin and Juan selected. I mean, what I like about Colin is that he's I mean, I've seen him spar with the actual first team,
Yep.
and he's like fighting for the ball and taking practice very serious, and that's why he's playing also be at that high level because he faces in his he's a sparring partner for the first team, so he faces an MLS you know quality team in as training. So when he has to face the Carolinas and the Inter Miami twos and things like that, he kind of lights it up. So I think he needs to keep going. He has a great future ahead of him. I think a lot of the kids do. I would love to see Kiwagunchi also in the first team at some point. If we now that Abdi Salim's not there, Sac Campagnolo is no longer there. I think he went to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean that's one talent that I do regret to let go. Be honest with you, Sakuri had a huge potential. And
Yeah.
he's killing it. He's actually going to be the goalkeeper for the West. I do want to say
Oh, really?
he's the starting goal. So there's actually three Lions.
There you go.
He's going to be the starting goalkeeper for the West. Sakuri Campagnolo. I mean, it's impressive, but Colorado. So
Another Zachary that's been doing very well recently,
yeah,
Zachary Taifi, getting more and more play time. Obviously, we've talked about Sakata. He should be coming back from injury soon, hopefully. He had a
he would
very
have
good.
been selected in the All Star
I
too if he
think
would have
so.
not
I
been
think he would
injured.
have been picked for the All-Star if he was fit. Wilfredo
Yeah.
Rivera is having a very good season.
Good.
Nabi Kiwaguchi's still in there. The roster here, I gotta say, on the club website is way out. It's not anywhere near.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of new players that come up from the academy that are getting
yeah,
signed contracts. There's going to be another goalkeeper here to replace. So it's not always super easy to know exactly who's playing. A lot of the time, I'll check in OCB and I'll be like, "Who's this guy?" And it would be some 18-year-old that just got called up this week to play in OCB because we're pulling other players away to go play in the main team. So there's a lot of exciting prospects in this team, don't you think? I think Ellis is another one that's playing well. So we'll see what happens this year, man.
now I do want to say, if you live in St. Cloud, Kissimmee, Celebration, and you want to be part of LPO and cover OCB next season, I can definitely see what we could do to get you a credential. You can go and report for us, and then that way we could have consistent coverage for OCB, because that's been one of the issues. That's because this is a one man band right now, and between Pride and their phenomenal season and Orlando City and their ups and downs, the hot and colds, I have to be like Dr. Ock, and just kind of have a lot of tentacles, kind of like El Pulpo.
Yeah.
But typically they're going City and Pride. And so OCB, we do our best to create the content digitally with what the club could provide us, which we do definitely think. But to actually physically go to the games, it will be great to have somebody. I did it last season, about four games, I believe. But this season, it's just time wise with Copa, it's just impossible. I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you.
I think that's in
So
general, Luis. We need a few more hands on deck. So if anybody's interested who
yeah,
wants to cover a
doesn't
team,
hesitate.
or if you feel like you could do podcast stuff with us, or you want to take photos, we are always interested in getting more help, more hands here. We're just very passionate individuals. So if you have that passion like us, you can learn a lot of this other stuff for sure. So we just need that drive, right, Luis?
Yeah, I mean, um, there's a lot of there's a lot of support in Kissimmee. I know that a lot of the ILF core
It's
members
been great to see their
live in St.
attendance.
Cloud, right?
Yeah.
So if this is something that you would like to do and try it out, feel free. We'll get you in some OCB games, for sure.
And we've said a lot before. If you're, a parent who wants to go take your kid to meet some pro soccer players, this is a great
Yeah.
opportunity. They always super supportive. They'll come and sign autographs after the game. It's a really nice little atmosphere down there. Tickets are cheap, so if you've never been, go check out an OCB game at some time,
Now,
because it can be really entertaining. Some of these matches.
I do want to say, before we go to the next topic, I forgot. There's a huge game coming into the city of Orlando that a lot of people are going to be really cool or interested in going to. That we're going to probably have the coverage also. Barcelona and Manchester City are playing a friendly here in Orlando.
Yep.
They're playing at Camping World, and then they're going to be training at Osceola Heritage. Manchester City will be training and pretty much staying in Kissimmee throughout this whole thing. So
Wow.
um, it's cool that Orlando is being noticed by these giant, massive teams as a soccer hub, and they spread the word. We see Chelsea, first coming in, and I remember when Newcastle came because of the Rollins. They came and they did the game against Orlando City. That was massive. Coloccini and everybody, they came in. Kieran Gibbs, I remember too. He came in and he was in Newcastle, I think, around that time. So, and it's spreading the word. And we're a soccer city, guys. And they're gonna be right there. You know, at Osceola Heritage, where Orlando CDB plays. There you go. Happy birthday. You're muted, man.
Complete coincidence. We're talking about Orlando City B, and it is today head coach Manuel Goldberg's birthday. So happy
Feliz
birthday to
cumpleaños,
Manuel.
Manuel.
Please come on us. Yes, exciting news about Man City Barca. That's going to be a lot of people
It's
want to go.
huge.
big times. I'm also going to show right before we move on from OCB quickly the table where they're at. It's
Ooh,
still in the mix. You know, they're down there
right
in
there
10th. It's you know they're not out of it, but they need to show some improvement
for
from
sure.
for this season. So get yourself down to an OCB game if you have a chance. Exciting players like Alex Freeman, man. He's like you said was playing in the DC game, and then he got an assist in this game. So it's great to see the guys playing in two games like that, both teams. Alrighty, moving on. We're gonna get on to U.S. men's national team. There's been a bit of news, Luis. Have you noticed? Uh, there's they made some changes. They said it's finally time for Greg to go. Not surprising based on Copa America and everything that happened there. But I think this one probably had to happen, right, Luis?
Look, I'm gonna be really, really concise. He should have never come back. That was my first thing I'm gonna say. We should have attempted to target Canada's coach. You know, that should have been our coach, in my opinion. Um, and in record time, he took a Canada team that was not doing so great and turned it into one of the huge surprises. It's the fourth best team in the Americas currently, Canada, and that says a lot. This U.S. men's national team deserved better, in my opinion, not only from its players, because you cannot shy and just pile everything on him. You know, it's also the players. You gotta play with a little bit more heart than that. Tim Weah making stupid mistakes. You know, you have a couple of players. Not maybe being in the best shape possible. Like Weston McKinney looked pretty heavy in my opinion. Throughout the whole entire Copa. Um, you gotta take this with a lot of seriousness, and look at Panama. Um, with less star power and a lot of less heroes than us, they beat us to the pulpit, and we've been the joke of this Copa America. A host nation that stays behind in Copa. In 2015, this team went through to the next round. Um, so it was about to come. Now, what's next? Well, they better pick a really good coach. It has to be a coach that knows how to manage egos in the locker room. Has to be a coach that has experience internationally. We cannot get Bruce Arena 3.0. That's just my opinion. you know, we cannot get Caleb Porter. But it has to be a coach that it's able to manage that locker room pretty well and definitely make him play much better than what Berhalter has done. I don't know. That's just my overview. Now, there's a lot of talk about Jurgen Klopp. Klopp. He already said that he wants to have vacation. That he's not really interested at the moment. Maybe down the future.
I think that's a very hopeful. I think that was a polite way of saying, even if I was available and I
Right.
wanted to get, I don't think.
Right.
I think people have to be realistic. I want to say firstly that everything you said was right. I 100% like the fact that we rehired him showed a serious lack
Correct.
of desire, in my opinion. Like, what are you doing? Who fires somebody, waits 6 months, and then hires the back? That's madness. So then it's like, okay, well, if you've hired him back, he better really be the guy. And it wasn't. It didn't work out. Obviously, this is a terrible, performance this tournament. I think also more than that, the team just lacked I couldn't tell you what the play style was. I couldn't tell you what we're trying to do with the ball. It didn't click. And especially struggling against Panama, like this shouldn't be happening. Really should not be happening. And so they had to do it. It was the only thing to do. I think if they hadn't done it, it would have shown a real lack of drive and ambition from U.S. soccer. And I think the players talking about how they like to play for him is great and everything, but the results is like you can have all the locker room atmosphere you want, but if you don't get the results, then what are we doing here? You know, it just doesn't seem worth it. So I think it's smart, and in terms of who comes in, it just has to be better than Greg. And I think the issue is when you're punching at guys like Klopp, um, it's not realistic in my opinion. It's
Right.
you gotta go for someone who has once was at that level and then is like now like okay, I've done like oh I've won trophies in Europe, I've won a Euros, I've won a World Cup, whatever. And then they're like, okay, now I'll go do something different. I think it's more likely you'll get like a Mourinho level type manager than you are. Not that I want him, than you would, Klopp. Klopp is too big in the world of soccer right now. I think we have to be realistic about what the U.S. men's national team job is. And if you look at it in terms of like we're ranking, FIFA teams as if how good a job they are. This is, they're like 11th in the world, so it's a fairly decent job, but I think there's a lot of other club jobs that they would prefer to take before this. Managing internationally is not always that appealing for the top managers in the world, and if they are going to do it, they're probably going to manage their own home nation, right? So it's more likely that Klopp goes and manages Germany than it is that he comes and manages U.S. men's national team. So we need to find someone that's of that level, and it's probably going to be an American. The big name that's been tossed around, which I think is most likely, is Steve Cherundolo. I think that's the one. I know people don't want it. I'm not saying it's a
No,
good pick. I think you're trading like for like, really,
it's more of
but
the
I
same.
think that's the more likely pick they'll go for.
It's more of the same.
It
In
is,
my
it
opinion,
is, but like, how
in my
many
opinion,
good U.S. managers are there?
Wilfred
Honestly,
Nancy, in my opinion, could be one of the options.
he could be an option.
Wilfred Nancy,
Yeah.
to me, he's the best MLS coach right
But
now. What he's
will he
done,
be, will he want to come?
I mean, again, it's. I mean, if you're asking who would you like, I mean, Wilfred Nancy sounds to me like a really great choice. There's also
Also,
talks about what's his name, Herb Renard, former Saudi Arabia coach
yeah,
from the last
I
World
think that
Cup.
would be a very good option.
No, Herb Renard,
It's
he's
more
okay.
exciting than Steve Cherundolo,
He's
I
okay.
think.
I mean, he's better than Steve Cherundolo for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
now,
but I
but
don't think they're going to get past the American thing. I think, even though Wilfred Nancy works in U.S. soccer, like in the U.S. world, like he's still French. He's not an American manager. So if we're going to get out of having not having American manager, we have more options. Is that opens up for a lot of things. If it's going to be an American manager, Jesse Marsh would have been the one that I wanted,
yeah,
but
Jesse March.
they missed that boat.
And not only that, we didn't. It's not just we just missed the boat. We made him look like we look
Yeah.
like idiots. I mean, the whole
And that's part
country.
of the issue is it more to do with the guys that are running US? I mean, Matt Crocker's just been put up there, but a lot of people don't have faith in him to
Yeah.
do the hiring.
So
So just go
they
past
asked
Road.
Shirundolo at the LA Open Cup match. They asked him post game if he's going to the U.S. men's national team.
Thanks, Steve. So a follow up to that: is your intention to be LAFC's coach through the end of the season? That's where your head's at.
I am I am LAFC's head coach right now, and that is my job. What I do every single day. And tomorrow morning training is at 11:15, an hour later, and I will be there for that.
So he pretty much said he's staying in LA, which is great. I think it's great.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think
Uh
it's
Joshua Tall says, who do you think the US men's national team should hire?
look.
Luis, your opinion?
Well, I already said Wilfred Nancy will be great. I think the U.S. based on the star power they have and the depth they have, because they have depth. Because a lot of the a lot of the players playing the Olympics are also part of the men's national team. Pretty much, they are. To me, the team is ready for a quality boost. Right there at that seating in that office right there, for the federation, and they need a coach that has won titles. They need a coach that's able to tell Team Wea, pardon my French, you ain't S. You haven't won Jack S.
Yeah.
You need to tone it the F down. Don't cost your team going to the next round. Who the hell do you think you are, my friend? And the problem with Greg Berhalter is because he has not really won anything. So he doesn't have the players feed off that. Players feed off that. You don't think Pulisic is like, whatever, it's just Greg. It's just Greg, man.
Yeah.
This team is past this. We need to see a hungry coach, a coach is not afraid of anyone. Do you see what Jesse Marsh was talking to DePaul? I mean, that's balls right there. That's the edge this team needs.
Yep.
And I'm super disappointed. Now, not disappointed. I applaud and clap Team Canada for getting Jesse Marsh. They're super smart. They did the best thing for their, and look at the results in record time.
When your nation is where we are at in the world of U.S. soccer, in the world, we're not a team full of talent at the level of Argentina. That's just reality. We have very good players in lots of teams around Europe, etc., but we don't have the full team at the level of Argentina, Spain, Brazil, England, whatever. We're not at that level. So what you need is a manager who gets the most out of your players, because you can't just go out and buy new players. So that's exactly what Jesse Marsh is. He's that kind of manager. He's getting the most out of this Canadian team, managed to get them to a semifinal. Whereas I think Greg is brought in to do a similar idea at U.S. soccer, and it's just not working. And it didn't work. In terms of who could replace him, Luis, there's so many names out there.
I mean, obviously, people are talking about the former, what's his name? The former Deutschland, Germany's coach.
Oh, yes.
What's his name? The guy who rubbed his. The guy who scratched his thing.
Thomas Frank? No,
the guy who smelled his hand. Remember?
I don't know who that was.
He got caught eating a booger in a video.
I don't know who that was. I missed that.
Yeah, this is former. I forgot his name. I can think about it, but
other names here, like Jim Curtin is one that's been brought up. No, thank you. There's some South American names in here, but I don't know if they're going to go that route. I would be surprised. Patrick Vieira is up. Mauricio Pochettino. That would be a great pickup. If Mauricio Pochettino is the kind of guy, he could go and get a top club game, team in Europe, but he could also maybe be enticed with the right amount of money to come, coach U.S. men's national team. Thomas Tuchel, Thomas Frank are also names in there. There's a lot of big names that are available. Whether they're interested in the job or not is another question. I wouldn't mind going for BJ Callahan, man. I think we looked really good under that little moment there where they didn't know what they were doing, and they had BJ in as the interim guy, and it was the same team as we had pretty much now with Greg, but they looked a lot better. So
BJ is with Nashville now.
He is, yeah.
So
but I would be like, how much to bring you back?
Another person who should be fired aside of Greg.
Yeah.
It's the person who turned down Jesse Marsh. Because Jesse Marsh wanted to be part of this team. And he got turned down by the USSF.
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. And then look at now another coach who was interested in coaching the U.S. men's national team in the past was Marcelo Bielsa. Look at Bielsa now.
Mm.
Why did they didn't pick up Bielsa? Oh, he doesn't speak English very well. Translation, hiring maybe somebody to translate. But look at Bielsa now with
I
Uruguay.
think that's where it comes from. They want an American guy, not only for the language, but also for I think for the headlines. I think for the atmosphere they want. They just want an American dude, and there's just not that many good American coaches out there. So your choices right now are limited. I hope they go big and go for somebody of maybe they'll be able to get them in, maybe convince a big ex-European manager to come over and run this team. But outside of that, I don't really like the idea of any of these other options, Luis. We'll have to see, but they got to do it quick because the World Cup is coming.
Yeah, I mean,
if
the
you're in
World
the
Cup.
chat, drop who you think should be the manager of the U.S. national team.
Yeah, I mean, there are coaches that are available, and I'm gonna mention them and see. You got Xavi.
I don't think Xavi wants it.
Hey, you have Zidane.
Yeah.
Zidane.
No, I don't. Maybe if you're lucky.
Joachim Low. That's the guy who ate his burger. Right.
Yeah.
Joachim Low's available. He's also, America has.
I mean, Joachim Low's got an incredible amount of experience with managing German national teams. So
you got, like you mentioned, your boy
would not say no to
Pochettino.
that.
Pochettino, which I don't like.
You don't like him, but he would be better than any of these other U.S. managers
for sure. Your boy Graham Porter. Graham Porter.
Please no.
And another one that's available right now, and to me, he's a legend, dear to my heart. And I would love to see him in red, white, and blue. But I don't know if I'm shooting to the stars too much. Frankie Lampard. You can just give him an.
Oh, imagine. That'd be fun. I don't
Frankie
think it would
Lampard.
work out, but it'd be fun.
Right, but
I don't know. With Chelsea for a minute.
That's far fetched. That's far fetched.
There's always those random names,
You got Edin Terzic from Borussia Dortmund. Like Edin Terzic, that coach Borussia Dortmund. He's available.
What's Thierry Henry doing nowadays? Maybe he's available.
Thierry Henry, he's in the booth. He's in the booth.
Yeah, maybe let's pull out one of the, let's get Landon off of the commentary booth and get him down to manage or somebody. I don't know.
You know who's available too? This is another guy that you truly love too, David Moyes.
David Moyes actually would probably do a decent job. Talk about getting, blood from a stone. He got a lot out of that Everton team that were not very good for years.
I'm telling you.
So maybe David Moyes, I wouldn't say no to that. I'd take that.
Oh, look, from the ones that are available, I will go from some Edin Terzic. I think what he did with Borussia is outstanding.
That was a good point.
I will go maybe. I mean, realistically, like you said, Joachim Low, maybe Mauricio Pochettino.
I think it helps having a manager who knows the international stage and has done it with another international team.
That has one thing.
That's a great candidate because they understand what it takes. Like someone like Joachim Low definitely knows
for sure
the international soccer game. So that would be a great pickup. Maybe he is someone that we could attract. Like it's a lot easier to attract someone of Joachim Low's, stature in the world game right now than it would be like a Jurgen Klopp. That's a bridge too far for me. I love the expectation, but the fact that he said no was not surprising at all. Alrighty, let's move on to our last topic of the day, Luis. We're going to talk a little bit about Copa and Euro finals, both happening this weekend. Let's start with Copa America. You've been covering it for the channel. Tell us your thoughts on the tournament so far and what you think about this final we got on, what is it, Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday night. So it's going to be Sunday.
Oh, Sunday night. Sorry.
Yeah, Sunday, July the 14th. Yeah, so I am going to do my utmost best to go, if CONMEBOL allows me, to be there, drive 4 hours in, 4 hours out for the final. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, guys, but I'm prepared for the challenge. I already called. I'm gonna probably be excusing myself out of work on Monday, but it's a pretty big event. I don't know when the Copa America is gonna be next. It won't be in the U.S. for a long time, probably 10 years or 6 years again. So I think it's great for the coverage that we've been doing now. As a journalist, I could tell you it's been the game that was run at Explorer Stadium. I went into the Bolivia Panama game. It was it was great.
Yeah.
CONMEBOL was running the whole show. It was the security of the club, and it was a great experience. To me, it was a phenomenal experience. But CONMEBOL people were running the show. It's not like they used Orlando City's staff. Then typically, I think FIFA would probably be geared towards that, towards the World Cup.
Hmm.
Will probably use the same PRs of the local MLS teams that kind of know the area, know where to sit the families, know that the families of the players should not be near the fan base of another nation. Because that's what happened between Uruguay and Colombia.
Hmm.
Bad, bad. It just makes us look like crap and
That's
makes
wild.
people in South America say "Los Gringos." No, the Gringos don't know because the soccer is not their first sport. That's the first thing they say. I swear.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know because it's not their first sport. The Copa America should not be in the United States. They're saying that. They hear what the players say about security and they tie it in. They don't know that CONMEBOL, and I'm going to say this, CONMEBOL, the U.S. Soccer and the Federation, and also some of the MLS clubs have offered to, hey, let our people run some of these games. No, we have our own people.
Yeah.
So they pretty much rent. It's like an Airbnb, but for
Hmm.
stadiums.
Yeah.
They rent out
Yeah.
the
That's what they're
venue and
doing.
then they run it.
Yeah.
The way and so they made to me the organization, which is CONMEBOL. I do want to say, not CONCACAF. I
Hmm.
think CONCACAF, because I've been to a Leagues Cup, I've been through Copa de Oro, I've been through a lot of them. Well run. U.S. soccer games, well run, smooth sailing. A lot of communication. There's
Yeah.
always people around you could ask things if you're media and things like that. There was none for CONMEBOL, like none. You didn't even tell you where to park or nothing like that. So you got to figure it out. And so um, this whole shebang with Uruguay and Colombia happened because of bad organizations making us look like crap.
Yeah.
And people are saying, "Oh, in Qatar was better." And and this and this and this and that. How are you guys going to do the World Cup? So people don't know. So I had to educate in my other pod people, tell them, hey, they were offered this help. They said no. This is uncomfortable. You don't sit the family of the players
Yeah.
right next to drunken Colombians. You got to be stupid, knowing how in our countries the players play with such passion. Things are going to be sad no matter what.
I think it's sad as well that like you have to understand the sport globally, and you have to understand that like I went to the Venezuela Jamaica game in
Right?
Q2, and there's just Jamaica fans all up. Like there was 90% Venezuelans for sure, and then you get the odd Jamaican here or there just mixed in the crowd.
Uh-huh.
If that turns hostile, they're completely outnumbered. It's a really dangerous situation. Like I think for these international games with fans coming from abroad that are of that level of passion, we need to have separate parts of the stadium for separate fans, just for
Correct.
safety. And you need to have barriers between that and everything else. And
Uh,
America's of the sports idea that it's just everybody in together, and that doesn't always work when you're putting the likes of Uruguay and Colombia in the same stadium and fans
exactly.
mixed in all together. It's no wonder that things start to
So
happen because they're not used to being mixed in next to each other. Are you used to being separated? So
So
you're asking for trouble.
the words that I'm going to use is learning curve.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this Copa America is a learning curve for FIFA when they take over the stadiums to work with the local people that know how to run soccer games in those cities,
Yep.
not just whatever guy from another country that doesn't know how things work here, and truly put a well put event. And I know things are gonna get better. And it sucks. It sucks what happened with Darwin Nunez. It sucks what happened with the Colombian fans. I
Yeah.
condone the violence. I think violence has no place in soccer. Unfortunately, it's really bad for the reputation, not only for our country, but I think also for CONMEBOL. They need to fix a lot of situations there. But in the soccer side, Uruguay and Colombia, phenomenal game. I think, talking about the U.S., I think people expected the U.S. to go through. Failure. The surprise of this Copa America has been Panama. Another surprise was how Costa Rica told Brazil to F off and tied them, 0-0, right? The elimination of Peru against Team Canada, that was huge. Everybody was seeing Team Canada lose, and look what happened with Peru. And I know people are not ready for me to say this. And again, I don't wanna ruffle any feathers, but my journalistic heart is telling me to say it. It looks to me, when you look from the beginning how this tournament started, it looks that it's an easy pathway for Argentina to go to the final. From them, U.S. should have had the U.S. should have been in Group A, in the top of Group A, because they were the host nation. Giving away the host nation there, Messi, all of a sudden they're in a group with Peru, with Canada. Argentina has not faced Uruguay, Colombia, or Brazil until the final. So that's another thing. And now they're going to be facing Colombia in the final, which to me, it's been the team that to me it deserves to win the Copa right now. I mean, to me, they've been playing at such high level. So happy for my Colombian friends, and I think that they well deserve to be there. It's going to be a phenomenal game. Let's see what happens, but it just seems pretty. One of the Argentinian Federation opened an office in Miami.
Oh, really?
It's really weird, right? Hmm.
I think there's a lot of calls for like Infantino, is helping them.
You know,
I
that
think
one
watching
of the
that game on against Canada,
uh-huh.
I'll say this: DePaul lived on the ground, and every time any of the Canadian players touched him, he went flying over and was just rolling around. And then anytime it was happening the other way against Canada, they didn't get anything. Like they were getting bullied by the back line of Argentina, and nothing was happening. That for me is like, is this just bad reffing, or is there something else here? Everyone can just say, "Oh, you're salty," whatever.
No,
It does seem like they got an easy run,
that's
and
what it seems like.
let's hope the Columbia man can do it in the final, because I'd love to see it. I'd love to see them rain on that parade. They've been playing really well. Anything can happen in one game, right? And I think
No,
that the South American versus South American matchup that this is huge, and it can go either way. So it's not over yet.
another thing I want to add, Kevin Ortega. I know that people, and I'm going to be completely blunt and honest, I'm Peruvian too. I know who Kevin Ortega is. if Kevin Ortega is in this tournament, it's thanks to Dominguez. And I'm going to say it bluntly and strongly. If he's in that tournament, Kevin Ortega is because of Agustin Lozano, the Peruvian Federation director that handpicks people to go to games. He's rewarding Kevin Ortega. He's one of the worst coaches in Peru. I don't know why he was even part of this tournament. And then this whole thing happened with Team USA, which, yes, you could say whatever you want about Christian Pulisic, that he was upset and that he told him to go celebrate with Uruguay, because honestly, it was bad refereeing. But you are a figurehead. You are the law on the pitch. You're supposed to be on a hell and a higher morale than the players. You're not gonna just not when he's giving you his hand. You're just not gonna just go like this. You gotta give him a handshake back. You know, it just looks horrible. It's just looks for a referee to do that. You know, it's wrong. But also, I do want to say the U.S. couldn't kill that. That game. They lost. A loss is a loss, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I mean the game before too is U.S. only have themselves to blame. You got to play the ref more than anything, right? You got to figure that out, and they weren't able to do that. What is your prediction on this final, Luis? You think it's still going to be Argentina over Colombia?
Look, if the soccer gods are just, Colombia needs to win.
That would be great. But I'm sure we've got some Argentina fans here as well who would love to see them lifted again.
If it's minute 80 and it's 0-0, and all of a sudden here comes the ball of and then there's a penalty, and
there might be a moment where it's that clear and obvious, Luis.
Also,
it could happen.
They also, this Copa America usually there's extra time, and you know why they took away the extra time? What do you think that was?
Because Messi didn't want to play extra time.
Correct, because he's not fit. And I'm gonna be completely bluntly like that. If the Peru game, if the Argentina Peru game would have gone through extra time, maybe Peru would have tied it. If the Canada game against Argentina went to extra time, so there's a lot of scenarios. No, the Argentina Ecuador game, Ecuador was ready to murder Argentina in the second half. If the Argentina Ecuador game would have gone through extra time, I think Ecuador would have probably gone through. So those are those little things that CONMEBOL with Infantino, and it's just you gotta be. I'm sorry, you gotta be super stupid not to catch these things. Now, are Argentina and Colombia the two best teams on paper right now in South America? I think Colombia because of their form, yes. And Argentina on paper, of course, yes. I mean, they have Messi, they have all the players, but we'll see. I mean, still is subpar than the Euros. So Spain plays against Colombia and Argentina, and Spain beats them both.
That's you bring me nicely there on to talking about the Euros. Yep. Also on Sunday, big final, massive day for myself as an England fan. I didn't think we'd be getting to this point, Luis. I gotta say, England have not played attractive football. It's not pretty. Southgate has been talked about in the same breath as Berhalter.
Southgate out.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Southgate, but somehow we still managed to keep going. We're very difficult to beat. We're not playing amazing attacking football, but we have these moments of brilliance like we saw from Bellingham and like we've seen from Saka. And we need to see a nice flowing attacking football from England. We'll see in this game against Spain. I think they're going to open up a bit more. Like every team we play for England, they sit back the opposition. They sit deep. They try and close the space. Don't give us a lot of opportunities. I think Spain's going to be quite forward, like quite aggressive, quite attacking. That's just how they play. So hoping for like a quite open final here where both teams are able to play and we're not like, shutting it down completely. Joshua Tall says that Southgate extended for 2 more years at the FA. Yeah, I feel like that's premature. Like, let's see if we actually get over the line. But the man has got us to the final now for the last Euros, this one, and we got to the World Cup semifinal. So it's been good. We just need to get it over that line. So maybe it's coming home, Luis. Maybe it's not. I won't bore these American fans anymore because I know we're not super likes as the English fans, but it's been a great tournament. Some great games. I don't know how much you've been able to watch, Luis, but
No, for
there has
sure. Yeah,
been
it's been
some
great.
stellar teams. Extra time has been really good sometimes. Sometimes it's just been they're still tying after it. But like England, for example, we came back in extra time, won a game. The penalty shootouts have been epic. Some good performances from some good
Switzerland,
teams here.
Switzerland's
Yeah.
been great. Turkey's been phenomenal. Netherlands, I think, is the resurgence of Netherlands, and I do want to say, for all Real Madrid fans probably watching, La Masia, my guys, they're in Holland right there in Netherlands. You got Xavi Simmons, right?
Ooh,
And then you have
yeah.
Lamine Yamal right there. You have, right. I
Jude
mean,
Bellingham.
So
It's the
it's
Real Madrid world, like Euros, really, isn't it?
exactly it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
I think
This,
the young talent's been super impressive.
yeah, Nico Williams. Right now, to
Yeah,
me, Nico Williams is better than Vinicius. Be honest with you, to me.
he's just so direct the way he runs at opposition.
Jude
Um,
Bellingham, Phil Foden. You know,
yeah, it's gonna be a great final, man. I'm excited. I'm hoping for an excited attacking final. Spain obviously knocking out France. They are on the much more difficult side of the group.
feel
They've
that for
had
Mbappe though.
they've knocked out Germany and France. So, for them, England's just like, okay, the next big team we got to take down. England has had a much easier side taken out, like really not doing that great in the group stages. Managed to get past Slovenia,
So
managed to
listen to
get
this.
past Switzerland, managed to get past Netherlands.
So if Argentina wins Copa
Yeah,
America and England wins the Euros, you're
yeah.
telling me, John, that we're gonna see the Falkland Island Derby?
The Falkland,
What,
they won't know what to do in the Falk. They would have won twice if you're from the
bro?
Falklands and you're Argentine and you're
Uh,
English. You've won twice. There
And
you go.
then they're England probably gonna get revenge. Revenge from the hand of God.
Honestly, look, I'm not sure if anybody knows, but we have not won anything since 1966 when we won the World Cup. We've never won the Euros. And as
Wow.
Joshua Tall says here, it's coming
Hopefully,
home,
John.
John.
Hopefully, you
I hope
guys
so, man, because I don't, how the Cubs didn't win for like 100 years or
are
whatever. It's
correct.
like that. Like, it's just,
Even though
it's been so
Southgate
long.
maybe a little all that
So
right
I
there.
know, I know we're not always liked, and I know we're playing some boring football. Trust me, I'm watching it. But if we can lift a trophy, I'll be absolutely delighted. So everybody tune in on Sunday to see those two massive teams, two big finals here. And then, Luis, we're going to roll into the Olympics, and the summer of soccer is not over. We've got these two cups coming up, obviously the Leagues Cup, and we've got the Summer Cup. So soccer is continuing. We're going to keep covering everything we can. Luis, any more final thoughts before we get out of here?
I want to play some Southgate part of his interview right
Maybe
here.
some Southgate. There you go. Good
Fuck me,
luck,
that was
Sharp.
close. I must admit, I jizzed my pants when Bellingham scored, but it should never have come to that. If I had £1 for every sideways pass, I'd be able to pay a month of Kyle Walker's child support. I mean, our first shot on target came in the 95th minute against fucking Slovakia. I mean, does anyone know where that is? Is it even a real place? Like, could you point to it on a map? I doubt it. We'll need to be better against the Swiss.
AI is scary,
Southgate.
dude. AI
Love
is
it.
scary. You know they did that
If
with
you're not
AI.
if you're
John?
not watching, if you're just listening, that's not actually Southgate. That's
No,
some
it's not.
video that somebody made using his voice
That's
and
insane,
faking a
though.
press conference.
That
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that is
But he has got
insane.
some great quotes over time.
No,
So
but I would love. Look, I'm a little torn in this final against Spain and England because my brother-in-law, he's English.
yeah.
One of my best friends right here, John, is English. So I do want England to finally just say, you know what, enough is enough. Here's the winning from now on. It's only winning.
It'll shut us up from saying it's
Yeah. So
coming
hopefully you
home
guys
as
get it
well.
this
It'll just
time.
change to it came home.
Spain
Josh says,
has.
what do England need to do to win?
What do you think?
You go with that one. I think we gotta just defend really well again and try and steal a few goals, man.
You
Like,
gotta be more lethal
just
in attack, and then give. I mean, this is a team that has more. I mean, in a way, they've been together longer, and they have played in massive games, massive final games. Talking about Foden, you're talking about
yeah.
Bellingham. And you gotta put some pressure on those kids, those Spanish kids. And sometimes you see them fumble on the pressure. Make them,
Yeah.
score first, and then be defensively savvy because you've seen what they can do with Nico
Oh,
Williams, Lamine Jamal. I mean, they're
yeah.
a nightmare to control.
I
But
think it's gonna be a really exciting game, Luis. Cole
Cole
Palmer
Palmer,
says Josh.
he was
Yeah,
never cold.
I'd love to see some different lineups. I think Southgate's so frustrating. We could sit here and talk about this all day, but just the
Yeah,
subs, the subs. Like we wait to the 75th minute to bring on our subs,
to Phil
but
Foden.
then Ollie Watkins scores. So who am I to complain? Thank you everybody who is here with us tonight on the pod. Appreciate you dropping your comments here. You can always join us live. We are here at on YouTube at Loud and Proud Orlando. You can find us on Twitter at LPO_podcast, as well on Instagram and on Facebook as Loud and Proud Orlando. You can listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Thank you to everybody who interacts with us on social media. Please, like, follow, subscribe, retweet, all of that stuff helps us in the algorithms, helps us to grow, and we appreciate your support. Luis, your final thoughts.
Well, thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Appreciate all the massive support we've gotten the past few episodes. Killing in the ratings. I think we've been outdoing each other each episode. So it's thanks to you guys. Also, the Pride Pods being like exploding. So thanks to everyone that's been watching the Pride Pod, consuming our content. So we're gonna be doing some changes. So it's important for you guys to do the feedback form that's on our Twitter. It's on our Instagram bio. So if you go to Instagram bio, you see the survey right there also. It's also on Facebook, and your feedback will help us a lot tremendously, not only for this half season in a way for LPO, but also for next year, because we want to definitely have higher expectations for next year. So everything really helps. So just excited, delighted for what's coming for Orlando City. Orlando Pride is on a roll, OCB as well, and hopefully we have a great Copa America final and a Euro final, John.
Oh yeah, we're spoiled for soccer, man, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. All right, everybody, we'll see you next time. But until then, we'll say, Vamos Orlando!
Vamos Orlando. Take care.